He makes big shots, he makes big plays, but more importantly, he keeps everybody on the same page.
Cassius Xavier Lamar Winston, born February 28, 1998. Cassius Winston was everything you could ask for in a college point guard. A Michigan legend from the high school ranks, he dominated the state's basketball scene, earning the coveted Mr. Basketball award before committing to Michigan State. Under Tom Izzo, Winston blossomed into an All-American, a Big Ten Player of the Year, and the heart and soul of a Spartan team that made deep NCAA tournament runs. He wasn't the fastest or the most athletic, but his court vision, leadership, and ability to control the game made him look like a future pro. Yet, when the NBA came calling, the transition wasn't smooth. Instead of becoming the next great point guard, Winston found himself struggling to stick in the league, bouncing between the NBA and the G League. His story is one of many that highlight the stark contrast between college basketball and the professional level. In college, Winston was a star, a player whose high basketball IQ and skill set made him the focal point of everything Michigan State did. But in the NBA, things changed. The game was faster, the players bigger and stronger, and the margin for error razor thin. The qualities that made him elite at Michigan State didn't translate as seamlessly to the NBA, where physicality and athleticism often separate those who thrive from those who fade into the background. Winston's story is a reminder that success on one level doesn't guarantee success at the next. Some players like Draymond Green or Jalen Brunson are able to prove that high IQ and skill can overcome athletic limitations, but others, despite their dominance in college, find the NBA game unforgiving. But the transition works both ways. Some players overlooked in college explode in the NBA when given the right role and system. Others, like Winston, struggle to carve out a niche in a league where there's only so many spots available. Why didn't Cassius Winston's game translate? Was it size, speed, or the shift in role? This story will explore the challenges he faced and why the NBA game is so different from college. It's a story about talent, fit, and opportunity, a reality check that separates the stars from the role players and the role players from those who don't last at all. Cassius Winston was once the hottest name in college basketball right before he entered the draft, but for these reasons, his NBA growth was stunted. Salute to my guy on YouTube, can't pronounce your name, but appreciate the suggestion. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Cassius Winston is a 6'1" point guard from Detroit, Michigan that was a standout for the University of Detroit Jesuit High School, where he led his team to a state championship and earned a prestigious Mr. Basketball award in 2016. Highly recruited, he chose Michigan State, where he became one of the most decorated players in program history. Under Tom Izzo, Winston developed into an elite floor general, earning Big Ten Player of the Year honors in 2019 and leading the Spartans to a Final Four appearance. Known for his high basketball IQ, leadership, and clutch shot making, Winston finished his college career as Michigan State's all-time assist leader. Despite his success, questions about his athleticism and defensive ability led to him falling to the second round of the 2020 NBA Draft, where the Oklahoma City Thunder selected him 53rd overall before trading him to the Washington Wizards. His transition to the NBA, however, proved far more difficult than his rise in college. Stunt number 1, the athleticism gap. The biggest hurdle for Cassius Winston in the NBA was the athleticism gap, a challenge that has derailed many college stars before him. At 6'1" and without elite speed and explosiveness, Winston was at a physical disadvantage against NBA-level guards. In college, his high basketball IQ, change of pace, and elite decision-making allowed him to dictate the game. At Michigan State, he didn't need to be the fastest player on the court because he was usually the smartest. But in the NBA, where the average point guard is not only quicker, but also stronger and more athletic, that advantage was significantly diminished. The professional game is built on speed and length. In college, Winston could carve up defenses with his crafty ball handling and pull-up shooting. But in the NBA, defenders closed space quicker, switched more effectively, and disrupted his rhythm in ways he hadn't encountered before. Players like Russell Westbrook, De'Aaron Fox, and Ja Morant, guards who are bigger, faster, and more explosive, dominate the league by applying constant pressure on both ends. Winston, who relied more on finesse and positioning, struggled to create separation off the dribble, making it harder to get his own shot or set up teammates as effectively as he did at Michigan State. On defense, the challenge was even greater. In college, Winston's defensive shortcomings were masked by Michigan State's team-oriented scheme, where help defense and disciplined rotations minimized his weaknesses. In the NBA, he was often targeted in pick-and-roll situations, unable to consistently stay in front of quicker guards or fight through screens at a high level. For a smaller guard without elite speed or strength, defensive liabilities can be a career-defining issue. Winston, despite his high skill level, lacked that extra gear to overcome his athletic disadvantages, making it difficult for him to earn consistent minutes at the NBA level. Stunt number 2, role reduction and lack of opportunity. One of the biggest adjustments college stars face in the NBA is accepting a drastically reduced role. At Michigan State, Cassius Winston was the engine of the team, where everything ran through him. He had the ball in his hands nearly every possession, controlling the tempo, making decisions, and dictating the offense. His usage rate was high, and his role was tailor-made for his strengths as a playmaker and scorer. In the NBA, however, things changed dramatically. As a second-round pick, Winston was no longer a focal point. He was a depth piece fighting for minutes. In Washington, he was buried on the depth chart behind established guards like Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, and later Spencer Dinwiddie. Instead of running the offense, he was expected to play off the ball, hit spot-up shots, and defend at a high level beyond what he was accustomed to. This transition isn't easy for players whose games revolve around rhythm and decision-making. When you're only getting limited minutes, it's harder to find confidence and establish a flow. Winston's skill set was tailor-made for the lead guard role, but the NBA rarely hands those opportunities to second-round picks unless they immediately prove they can dominate. In the G League, there were flashes of brilliance, but at the NBA level, he didn't get enough time to show what he could do. Some players thrive when they take on smaller roles, turning into defensive specialists, shooters, or energy players, but Winston's game was built on running an offense, something he wasn't entrusted with at the next level. Without consistent playing time or a role that fit his strengths, Winston struggled to make an impact, highlighting how difficult it is to transition from college stardom to an NBA bench role. Stunt number 3, limited margin for error. For second-round picks and fringe NBA players, the margin for error, like mentioned, can be razor thin. Unlike lottery selections who get multiple seasons to develop, players like Cassius Winston must prove themselves quickly or risk being replaced. In college, Winston had time to grow into his role. He wasn't a superstar as a freshman, but developed into one over time. Washington didn't have the incentive to invest in Winston's long-term development. As a second-round pick, he didn't receive the same financial commitment or organizational patience as a first-rounder. His two-way contract meant bouncing between the NBA and the G League, where he had to consistently adjust to different teammates, systems, and expectations. Without consistent opportunities to develop into a stable role, his chances of earning a full-time roster spot dwindled. In limited NBA minutes, Winston needed to prove he could contribute immediately. If he struggled in a short stint, he'd likely sit the next game or get sent back to the G League. This kind of pressure isn't easy to navigate, especially for a player whose game thrives on rhythm and feel. It's the harsh reality of the NBA. If you don't stand out quickly, teams move on. For comparison, players like Jalen Brunson or Fred VanVleet succeeded despite similar physical limitations because they were in the right system, had more opportunities, and capitalized on them. Winston, despite his high basketball IQ, never had the chance to play through mistakes or grow into a significant role. In the NBA, sometimes success is about more than talent. It's about timing, opportunity, and fit. Winston simply didn't land in a situation that allowed him to showcase the full range of his skills that made him a college star. All in all, Cassius Winston's journey from college stardom to fringes of the NBA is a reminder of how different the two levels are. At Michigan State, he was a maestro, a leader who dictated every possession. But in the NBA, the game was faster, the athletes were stronger, and his role was significantly reduced. Without elite athleticism, a guaranteed opportunity, or the margin to grow into a consistent contributor, Winston struggled to find his place. His story is not unique. College basketball is filled with stars who won't transition to the next level, just as the NBA is filled with players who were afterthoughts in college but thrived when given the right opportunity. The league isn't just about talent, it's about fit, adaptability, and timing. For Winston, the NBA didn't offer the right conditions for him to succeed, proving once again that dominance on one level doesn't always translate to the next. Salute, much respect, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.